Okay, let's talk dirt. Here in Arion County, we either have clay or sand. In fact, I'll go out on a limb and say most places either have clay or they have sand. So how do you know what kind of soil you have? Let me show you. Come in here. And this is clay. You can see that's hard. When it gets wet, it's very dense and it's heavy. This is sand. Okay, my garden is very, very sandy. Let's talk about clay first. Out of the two, clay presents the most challenges. My great-grandmother, she lived in a clay adobe house. They take this kind of clay, mix it with straw, put it in the sun and bake it, make bricks out of it. Now you can imagine the challenges that it presents to your garden. Okay, roots are going to have a hard time breaking into that. The other thing that happens with clay is clay holds a lot of nutrients, but it's not conditioned to release it to the soil. Clay is dying for humus, not the bean dip. It wants compost, lots and lots of compost. So right now, what you need to do, it's not a quick fix with clay. It's not impossible, and it's well worth your efforts. But for right now, where we're getting ready to plant, what you need to do is go to the store, buy a bag of perlite and some compost. Mix it in with where you're planting, right directly where you're planting, and that will help feed your plants. Over the summer, what you need to be doing is watching for farmers that have haystacks that are just sitting there rotting and falling apart, or straw. We need to be mixing those in. Leaves, grass clippings, anything like that. We need to mix tons and tons of that in. And if your budget allows, come fall, you need to also be mixing in turkey mulch or mushroom mulch, and really give that some breakup. It will allow your roots to go deeper and stronger, and it will help condition the clay so that it will be able to release the nutrients. If you have sandy soil like I do, your biggest problem is going to be water. Directly through the planet for me is the Indian Ocean. I'm pretty sure we filled that up from my garden hose the first couple years that we watered, because I would water and water and water, and my plants were burning up because they couldn't get enough. Water retention is the biggest problem with sand. So if you have sandy soil, I want you to do everything that I said with the clay. You're going to want to retain all those things, but you're doing that for a different reason. You're doing that to help retain the moisture and to make soil instead of sand. The second thing you're going to need to do if you have sandy soil is mulch. The way you're going to use the grass clippings, I use my grass clippings for mulch, and the way I use them here is I put them in between the furrows. That does two things. In the fall, when we till it in, it helps feed the garden, and it keeps the water down. Plus, it keeps the weeds out. Bonus point for you, if you have chickens, use your grass clippings as bedding, and then when it's time to clean out the chicken coop, use it in the garden. It will feed your garden more. You cannot directly apply chicken dew because it is too hot and it'll burn your plants. But if you till it in the fall, by springtime you'll be awesome. Okay, the second thing you need to do you don't need to do, this is what I do, and it is a huge help. You're gonna think I'm crazy, or maybe that's just gonna confirm that thought. Maybe this is just gonna confirm that thought. But the best thing that holds water retention, a diaper. Remember, in those first years of gardening, I can go out and buy stuff, but I was up to my eyeballs in diapers. So I would save the piddled in diapers. I would dig underneath top-bearing plants, so not your potatoes, not onions, not carrots, not beets, but top-bearing plants under their rows, and plant diaper fluff. This helps retain the water. I make sure I'm covering it with dirt so that it's not splashing up on the fruit, because that would be gross. If you have garden boxes, huge help, because they're going to dry out just like sand does. This is a huge, huge help. Let me make sure I'm getting my everything I talked about. Oh, right. If you don't have diapers, I am going to put a link in the description. Mark says I can't call it comments anymore. It's the description. Put it in the description of where you can buy the inside fluff of the diapers, okay? Now that we have talked soil, we will talk more as we go along. Next, we're going to talk about row prep, and if you're not going to want to miss this. Also, now that we've talked a little bit about soils, like I said, sand and clay are two different things. Clay does not really do well with below ground producing plants like potatoes and carrots. If you've got a sandy spot in your garden, or where it's a little bit loose or compact, that's where you're going to want to plant your below ground producing plants. So get your map out and make those adjustments. And after you've done that, you're ready to hit the nursery.